Hey, it's Annemarie with Speak Confident English, and welcome to this week's Confident English lesson. This is exactly where you want to be every week to get the confidence you want for your life and work in English. Let's talk about muscle memory. Have you heard those words before? They're a bit confusing because, of course, your memory does not have a muscle. So, what could that mean? Muscle memory is the idea that you have repeated something so many times that you no longer really need to think about it when you do it. It's almost automatic. Like walking, riding a bike, or typing an email on your computer keypad. Those are all things that at one time took a lot of effort and a lot of thinking. But now you just do them and you don't really think about it. This also includes a skill like playing the piano. Maybe there's a song that you've played 873 times. By now, you no longer need to read the music. You don't need to worry about thinking where your fingers should go on the keyboard. And you don't really worry about making mistakes either. You just play the song. It's easy. You do it fluently or smoothly and with confidence as well. When you've mastered a skill like that, you've created muscle memory. So how does muscle memory, or perhaps a better word when we talk about learning a new language, automaticity, happen? To practice effectively and master your English skills and confidence, there are 4 steps you can follow. And that's exactly what we're going to talk through in today's Confident English lesson. Not only will we look at those 4 specific steps and how they can apply to language learning, so that you can master the skills that you're working on. But I've also got a free download for you that will help get you on the right path. In their wildly popular TED Ed video on this topic of how to practice effectively, Annie Bosler and Don Green define effective practice as consistent, intensely focused, and targets content or weaknesses that lie at the edge of one's current abilities. I'm going to leave that here for a moment because that's a lot to think about. Effective practice is practice that is consistent, intensely focused, and targets content or weaknesses that lie at the edge of one's current abilities. In other words, learn how to do something correctly, learn it with intense focus, and repeat it often, slowly adding challenge or level of difficulty so that you're always moving forward. Now, in their video on effective practice, Bosler and Green are focused on physical or motor skills, such as learning to play a musical instrument, perfecting a fine art like painting, or improving athletic skills. But I think it's always useful to observe something that you're learning and think, what can I learn from this and how can I apply it in other areas of my life? That's what we're going to do today. We're going to look at their method of effective practice and how we could use that same strategy in language learning to master your skills so that you gain ease, fluency, and confidence. Bosler and Green break that down into 4 simple steps. We're going to walk through each one of those steps and break it down into practical things that you can begin doing today to start mastering the skills that you're working on in English. And as I mentioned, I've got a free download that I'm going to share with you that will help you get started on the right path immediately. So step number 1, focus without distraction. You and I both know that this is true for anything that we want to do well in our life. The more we can eliminate distractions, the better we're going to perform. The problem is, of all 4 steps, this one might be the most difficult. It requires the most self-discipline. Not only do we already have family members, kids, coworkers around us that distract us, But many of us are also addicted to checking email, responding to text messages, looking at what's happening on Facebook or Instagram every few minutes. And that is a disaster when it comes to focus. So here are 2 tips that I have for you to help you eliminate those distractions when you're focused on achieving mastery in your English skills. Number 1, keep your practice time short. It's much easier to turn off your email and to turn off your phone or even shut yourself in a room if you know it's just for a little bit of time, maybe 5, 10, or 20 minutes. The key here is making sure that you can give 100% of your attention and your energy to that one thing that you want to do better. The second tip that I have for you is you can make this even easier by scheduling it. I know for me that if I don't schedule something, it's super easy for me to forget about it or say that it's not so important. I can do it tomorrow or next week. When I schedule something, it becomes a priority. It's something that I make time for. Step number 2, start slow. Learn it right the first time, slowly increasing with your speed or level of difficulty. This might seem counterintuitive to language learning because, of course, in language you want to speak quickly. Many of us think that fluency is about speaking fast. If you're one of my Fluency School students, you absolutely know fluency is not about speaking fast. It's about being in control, being smooth, and being clear. That is fluency. And you can only do that when you start slow and you perfect or master a specific skill. And then with time, build up the speed or level of difficulty until you have absolute confidence in what you're doing. That's exactly how I help my students in Fluency School. And it's one of the reasons the program is so effective. So how can you do this? Well, there are a couple of things that are important. Number 1, you have to learn something correctly from the very start. What that means is finding an instructor you trust to give you the right information. Now, whether that's me, someone else on YouTube, or another teacher where you live locally, that is 100% fine. But it's important that you have someone who can teach you the right skills. Once you've done that, start working on those skills slowly. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this when I share the free download I have for you. How do you start slowly? So if you're thinking that, if you're wondering about how to apply this, I'm going to help you do that in just a moment. But first, let's talk about step number 3. Repeat often, but give yourself breaks and avoid burnout. If you've ever tried to improve your ability in playing a musical instrument or perhaps playing a sport, you know that if you only do that thing one time a month for 2 or 3 hours, you're going to lose everything that you've learned the next month. When you practice again 4 weeks later, you're going to repeat the same thing that you've already learned because you never mastered it. That's why sports teams and clubs meet every week or even twice a week. Children's sports teams might practice every day after school during the season. The reason for that is, of course, repetitive practice allows you to build on what you've already learned and make gains going forward. This is absolutely true for language as well. This goes back to that idea of short, committed practice time. It's so much easier to get regular, repeated practice when it's short and focused. If you practice 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week, that is so much easier than trying to do 3 hours a day. And finally, step 4 on the list, use visualization. What that means is to practice in your brain. Imagine those specific skills that you're wanting to use and how you would use them. How do you apply this to language learning? If you've been following me for a while, you know I'm a huge advocate of preparing for conversations in advance by imagining what you would say in that moment. My Fluency School students definitely know about this, and in my lesson on how to be interesting and cool in English, I actually talk through my method for this. I share with you exactly why it's useful to imagine or visualize what you might say in a conversation in advance and how to do it, so that when that conversation happens in real life, you feel prepared, confident, and at ease. If you want a link to that lesson where I talk about how to visualize or imagine what you'll say in a conversation, I'll leave a link to that in the notes below this video. But now let's talk about practical ways to apply all of this and how can you do this to improve your English language skills. As I mentioned, I have a free download available for you. At the start of this year, I shared a lesson on how to accelerate your English confidence. And with that lesson, I included a download with 30 speaking prompts for daily practice. If you haven't downloaded it yet, I want you to go to today's lesson on the Speak Confident English website where it's available for you to download. And if you've already got it, get those speaking prompts out. We're going to talk through exactly how you can use that to follow all 4 steps we've talked about today and begin to gain mastery in your English skills. Once you've downloaded the 30 speaking prompts for daily practice, notice I said daily. We're talking about that consistent repetition. Here's exactly what I want you to do. Number 1, create focused time to practice. Make it short, but make it focused. So if you can find 5, 10, or 15 minutes, 5 days a week, schedule it and make it a priority. This is your committed speaking practice time. Once you've done that, I want you to follow the daily prompts that I've provided. In that download, I've given you specific topics and skills for you to practice in your English. And here's where we're going to talk about what it means to go slow and then slowly build up your speed or level of difficulty. With each prompt, I have a question for you, and I want you to give yourself some time to practice speaking on that topic out loud. The first time that you do that, I want you to speak slowly. I know that sounds strange, and it's counterintuitive. Again, you might be thinking that fluency is speaking fast. It's not. It's about you being in 100% control of what you want to say and how you want to express yourself. So I want you to start slow. And don't worry, because no one else is in the room with you. This is your practice time. So no one's going to hear you going slow. It won't sound strange to anyone because they can't hear you. I want you to practice speaking as slow as possible. Give yourself time as you speak to think about what you're saying. Think about the words that you want to use or the specific grammar I've asked you to focus on. Think about your pronunciation. Speaking slowly gives you time to think about all of that. It helps you improve your accuracy. Once you've done that, you can do the activity again. This time, speed up just a little bit. If it's a topic that you already feel really comfortable with and you think, this is so easy, well, then I have a different challenge for you. Instead of focusing on increasing your speed slowly, try to increase the level of difficulty. Speak slowly so you can focus on using advanced level vocabulary that is more difficult for you to use, or use more challenging grammar and sentence structures. No matter what the topic is, there's always some way to make it more difficult. And when you do it the first time, if you do it slowly, you give yourself that opportunity to really refine, perfect what you're doing. As you master it, you can increase the speed and gain that confidence you need going forward. All right, so we've talked about giving yourself some intensely focused time regularly to practice with these speaking prompts. We've talked about how you can apply the strategy of going slowly and increasing your speed or level of difficulty over time. That allows you to continue building on what you've already learned and move forward. Step 3 is do it consistently. That's exactly why I included the words daily practice in this download. If you can, I want you to do this 5 days a week. Give yourself breaks. You need them. It's healthy. But commit to regular practice. And finally, step 4, visualize or imagine. Again, when you have those speaking prompts, before you immediately begin speaking, give yourself a couple of moments to reflect. Imagine that someone has asked you that particular question in a real conversation. Take a few minutes to think about what you might want to say. Give yourself just a little bit of time in advance to prepare before you immediately begin speaking. I know that we don't always get those opportunities to just sit and think in a real conversation, but this is your practice time. This is the time that you're using to master those skills so that when you're in that real conversation, it comes easily, fluently, and with confidence. With that, you have an effective way to practice and gain mastery in your English skills and confidence. My challenge for you this week is simple. Download the 30 speaking prompts for daily practice and get started today. Follow the steps that I've provided here, and as you implement this practice, let me know how it's going. You can share your practice journey with me in the comments below this video. With that, have a fantastic week, and I'll see you next time for your Confident English lesson.